This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. I'd like to call the Environmental Control Committee meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Present are committee members, Heeman, Glassburn, Williamson, council members, Kelly, Schuman, Limpert. Is Mr. Limpert here? No. And Broussard. Council President Jones, Mayor, the Planning Director, our City Engineer, our Finance Director, and our Safety and Service Director. The meeting this evening is going to be with regard to an update on stormwater mediation and also the Mackenzie Culvert project. The mayor will begin by giving us an update, I believe, and then on the stormwater, and then Director Lieber will take over with the culvert project. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'll give you a little update. Since the storm issues of the 15th, we met with residents. We probably had 15 meetings, all small meetings with 10 or fewer residents at Springvale Pavilion. The meetings went well. We explained what we've done, what the short-term plans are, what the medium-term plans are, and what the long-term plans are. So we've had a storm crew assisted by Greg Peters. Greg Peters is with the sanitary crew, but he knows the equipment as well as anyone, and I wanted him out there. And so he's been out there at Brutton Ridge. We finished up Brutton Ridge. That's cleaning all the storm sewers, but we not only cleaned them, we mapped them. So we know where everything is, and it'll go in the computer so everyone will be able to access that. And so we did all of Brutton Ridge. We also met with the Brutton Ridge Homeowners Association President, John Jark, after we were done. And so we answered any questions for about an hour with him. And the meeting went well. Greg Peters went back to the sanitary crew, and the storm crew is moving east into Park Ridge. So they're working at Park Ridge, cleaning out the storm sewers now. In the sanitary department, we're also smoke testing the back of Brutton Ridge, so Brutton Ridge, which would be south of 480. So that's currently in process. We also experienced some equipment challenges. Some of the vac trucks had some problems, but thanks to Tony and the fleet department, they did a great job in keeping them up and running. We're working with the schools and ODOT in acquiring properties is going very well. We are currently working on agreement to get heavy equipment back there to do a soil test, and the agreement to do that is not the problem. The problem is access to that property, which we're currently working on right now. We're also working with ODOT on Mackenzie Culvert, Fitch Culvert, and all the waterways that flow east that are on ODOT properties. Currently, ODOT was out there. They were working at Mackenzie, working their way east to Fitch. If you were out there right by 480, the trucks where I happened to stop by and introduce myself, and they seem to be doing a good job. When I asked them, what are you doing? They're working the waterway adjacent to 480. Looks like they're doing a good job. I asked about the culvert. The guys seem to think that they already did the culvert. I called Greg Peters. Greg and I don't think they did, so we need confirmation on that, but we're working very close with him. Again, this guy wasn't a boss. He was just working on the ditch. So we're making some progress. We're going to keep going. We got a lot of work to do. So there's every day brings a new challenge. And Madam Chairwoman, I'll turn it over to Ms. Lieber.
If you don't mind, just one moment, please. Mayor, could you just, we have, some residents on our meeting today, and just for the benefit of all of council and a refresher to me, if you don't mind, could you explain what is the smoke testing that's going on? What is it and what's its purpose? Or anybody that wants to jump in and answer.
Yeah, well, we've got the engineer Pete, so he can mention more, but the smoke test is basically for sanitary, and it finds any leaks that might be coming out. So I think they smoke test at the street, but this is very resident intensive. We had to send out like 3 mailers to people so everyone knows when we're doing their street, because occasionally you might get something, and the smoke's, it doesn't hurt you, but you might find it coming up in your house at a sewer pipe. And Pete, I'll let you explain better than that if you can.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, so they have a smoke machine, which they introduce smoke into the system at the manholes in the street. So they'll plug a section of sewer main at the street between manholes, insert the smoke, and then the smoke will distribute throughout the system. And if there's a cross connection where a downspout or a driveway drain or a yard drain is illegally connected to the sanitary system, the smoke will find its way, and they'll see the smoke visually coming out at those locations, and they'll be able to identify those violations. Yeah, the smoke is non-harmful, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
If I can add one more thing, it also, if I could, Madam Chairwoman, it also finds the holes that might be in our system, not just the residents. So we want to find if there's any leakages on our side of things, out in the yard, wherever it might be. So that's the idea behind the smoke testing. Thank you.
You're welcome. And before, Ms. Lieber, we begin, I just want to make sure that committee and council have no questions about this update before then we move to discussing culverts, and so we don't cross all of the information at the question and answer. So any questions from committee with regard to the updates on the stormwater progress? Nope. Council? Oh, and let the record reflect that Mr. Limpert has joined our meeting. And Mr. Limpert, did you have your hand up or no? You did not?
No, I'm just having some technical issues. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And Ms. Director Lieber, if you'd like to continue, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I have an update for the Mackenzie Culvert project. Council may remember that Mackenzie Culvert was due to be slip lined this year, that Council had approved an ordinance allowing us to participate in the state cooperative purchase program for that culvert, and that we thought at the time that slip lining would be a cost-effective and feasible solution for that project versus a full replacement. By the end of June and beginning of July, we started seeing signs of concern at the culvert. City crews and also then ODOT went out and re-inspected and found that the condition of the culvert was in far worse condition than we first imagined, that it was heavily deteriorated. And at that point, ODOT and the city discussed that really a full replacement would be necessary. And so we had Service install a patch with the intent of then working with ODOT on a more long-term replacement solution that would probably have been led by ODOT. Service did install the patch. However, the rain tended to wash away the stabilization materials under the patch. And so now we had a concrete patch, but there was really nothing underneath holding it. It was just Swiss cheese. So it became more of an urgent emergency situation where we can't wait for a long-term solution. We need to take action more quickly. So the city and ODOT, we've been in constant contact the last couple weeks since we've seen this problem. The road has been plated in that location for a temporary solution, and ODOT and the city agree that we can jointly work to replace the culvert and do it under an emergency in a more quick fashion. ODOT has agreed to fund the construction portion of the project, and they say, though, that the city will be responsible for the design engineering and also the construction engineering. So we are currently working with ODOT to understand exactly what process they'll require. And so we will be taking some form of legislation to council as soon as August 18th, your meeting of August 18th, so that we can move ahead quickly. It will probably involve a no-bid contract to a local contractor and entering into a contract with the construction engineer to support the city in overseeing the construction work. So our city engineer has already designed the solution. He submitted it to ODOT for feedback. The city will have to front the money and then be reimbursed by ODOT. Our current opinion of probable cost is about $385,000 for the construction. And then the construction engineering will be just an hourly basis above that, but we'll get a rough estimate of what we think we expect based upon the timeline of construction. So we're working very, very quickly to try and solve this problem. We've also been in touch with the schools to let them know that Mackenzie will be shut down for a period of a couple weeks at least, so that they know for when school's back in session about detours and things of that nature. So this is really just a heads up, because once we have a path forward with ODOT, we'll need to move as quickly as we can to get this work done. And also just with the fall approaching, we're very sensitive of trying to get this work done before the weather makes it impossible, and also not to inconvenience residents, and also to keep the water flowing through that area, not backing up in any private property. So that's the update on Mackenzie. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but also Pete's here and can probably more specifically answer any design or engineering questions about the project.
Thank you, Director Lieber. I'd like to have the record reflect that the Finance Director and the HR Director have joined our meeting at this time. One of the questions that I have is, the money then will be coming out of, the sewer funding, where is the, I would assume, but I'd like to know where the expected funding is coming from.
So again, ODOT will cover the, thank you. Again, ODOT will cover the construction cost on a reimbursement basis. We had borrowed $160,000 for the original culvert slip lining. Plus we have funds that were borrowed for stormwater purposes back when we did the Pine Basin. So we do have excess funds that we can at least rely on that to, initially cover the costs that will then get paid back. The city does not expect that our portion of engineering, both design and construction, I do not think it will get up to $160,000. So I actually think we'll probably wind up spending considerably less as a city than we would have slip lining. So I guess we just have to bear the cost up front, get reimbursed, but at the end of the day, it'll be less cost for North Olmsted.
Okay, and to the Finance Director, do you know what the excess funding is, an approximate amount? So we have the 160 that we've already set aside for the slip lining project, but then the excess funding is in a value of what? Director Copper, can you hear me?
Yes, I had to, I started talking and
Yeah,
I
I get
turn the
it.
microphone
I
on.
was in and out in another meeting today. It wasn't going well. So just an estimate though, because I know you probably weren't prepared to have to answer this question. So, whatever.
I don't have the, I don't have the report in front of me that has the line item, but I believe we borrowed $1 million, and it was a few years ago, and then we deducted the Pine, which was, I want to say like 500,000. So I think we might, and then there was one other little project. So I think there's like $400,000 in there, and that's
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Are there any questions from with regard to?
Oh, Bella has a question.
Well, I'll call my dog Whisperer. Yeah, her name is Agnes Thomas. Anyway, questions from council, please. All right, seeing none, I would like to then close our environmental committee meeting at 7:15 p.m. And I would like to thank the mayor and Director Lieber for, contacting me last week to set the meeting up and providing the background information to the committee in advance. Thank you.